Hello and welcome to Skinkland. My husband and I just bought an old house, and apparently it has the perfect habitat for skinks. We just counted about 6 in just a couple minutes. This is the broad-headed skink, and you can see how he gets his name. He's got that big, broad, red head, and he is not afraid of us. So, a couple things could be going on. It's a little bit cool today, and that could be one reason why he doesn't want to move. He also is probably hoping that I don't actually see him, and he's trying to stay very, very still. So, we've got one skink over there, and over by our shed we seem to have a whole family of skinks. Another male right here. He had a female right next to him. Looks like she has left. This is what the females look like. Now, first I thought she was a 5-line skink because the 5-line skinks look very similar, and she does have some lines. She doesn't have the broad, bright red head like the male, but I looked it up and found out that they are dimorphic, which means that the females look different from the males. Here comes another one. Now see how this one's lines are more obvious? We will have to figure out exactly how to tell the difference between a female 5-line skink and a female broad-headed skink. They seem to be all over each other, hanging out next to each other. I don't know if that's something that the 2 different species would do, but we have found both species under this shed. Most people think that you can identify a 5-line skink by the bright blue tail, and that is true, but the ones with the bright blue tails are juveniles, so not all of the 5-line skinks have the bright blue tails. Now, why would the juvenile have a bright blue tail and not the adult? Well, having juveniles with different markings than adults is somewhat common in nature, and that's because when you're a kid, you're not as coordinated, you're not as smart, you're not as careful, you haven't learned how to survive, so nature tries to give you some advantages. That could be something that makes you extra camouflage, like birds are often going to have a mottled. There's a blue tail just snuck away right there. So birds are going to have like a mottled, splotchy, feathery pattern to help them blend in, whereas the 5-line skink juvenile has that blue tail so that if a predator tries to attack it, it's going to be naturally attracted to that bright blue tail. And what do you know about lizards? They have this miraculous ability to regrow their tail if it gets bitten off by a predator. So they want to attract predators to that tail when they're young to just give them that extra chance to survive. So if you are looking at lizards, try just to approach them and see how close you can get to them without trying to grab or touch them. If you grab a lizard and it fears for its life, it might drop its tail, and even though they can grow it back, it never grows back quite as nice as it was the first time. You can kind of see it's a little bit smaller, and Also, it takes time to grow back a tail, and during that time they're helpless if they have a real predator. So you don't want to be the reason that a lizard dropped its tail. Besides which, if you try to catch it, you're not really learning about the animal and how it behaves in its natural habitat in a natural way. And if you really want to learn, you want to watch them acting naturally. So that is the skink shed. Thank you for joining me. Hello, we are here in downtown Beaufort by our new shed, which seems to already belong to the skinks in our neighborhood. Here we have a male and a female broad-headed skink. So at first I thought that this was a 5-line skink because they look very similar, the female broad-headed and the 5-line skinks. Okay, so now we have a good example of the juvenile with the bright blue tail. And we've also confirmed that both species are indeed hanging out in the same locations. Seems like the juveniles are a little bit more skittish than the larger ones that we saw, which is probably smart. Here comes another one. See, the 5-line skinks have more distinct lines. And they also have reddish faces, which makes you wonder why they both co-evolved to have red faces. Is that attractive in the lizard world? It must be. And this spot here seems to be the favorite of all the lizards. We've had like 7 separate individuals in this spot alone just in the last 30 minutes. So we're learning all kinds of things just by observing and watching. And that's first-hand knowledge, which is always more reliable than second-hand knowledge. Even books might tell you something's for sure, and then you witness it for yourself, then you know what's really going on in nature. This male has been, I believe, wanting to mate with this female all day, or maybe they have been. They've been next to each other. He seems to follow her more than the other way around. And then over here, there's what appears to be another female. I mean, maybe juvenile males don't have the big red heads yet. Not sure what's going on. I have an inkling that it's skink mating season. skinks into the world.